Ayo Mairo Ese.
And I'm Valentine Ohu.
And joining us this morning for the news analysis on Freshly Pressed 981 this morning is Cheta. Good morning, Cheta.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Cheta is at Checkstar on Twitter. And joining us as well is Justin Ijeh. Morning, Justin.
Morning, niggas.
And Justin is at Justin Ijeh on Twitter. Now, you can join the conversation as we go into in-depth analysis of the news headlines for this morning through our various platforms.
Yes, you can try Twitter. Twitter is at Smooth981FM. That's the handle. The hashtag is freshly pressed 981. If you want to send messages through WhatsApp, please send it to this number 080944400981. It'll interest you to know that you can watch us live in the studio as you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos.
All right, let's go into our first story for this morning. Cheta, I'll come to you for this. Nigeria
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nigeria's Siemens seal deal for delivery of 11,000 megawatts in 2023.
So, according to the story, the President Muhammadu Buhari, on following up on the agreements that he had on Nigerian electrification roadmap signed with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel last year, they've gone ahead to meet and just get this ball rolling. I said it's set for 2021. What are your thoughts?
2021, 2022.
Mm.
But before I start, why were two of you cutting each other eye?
No, that we have
We have an unspoken.
an
Can you please
eye-to-eye conversational relationship. Yes.
Okay. It's. I mean, on paper, it's good news, and it's something that should be worth celebrating. But I think, like many Nigerians, if not most Nigerians, this love notes.
Please,
we
wait
just
a
give
minute.
people
Cheta,
blue
Cheta,
paper.
focus.
Cheta, just continue.
They are distracting me.
You can watch on YouTube.
Um, on paper it's good, but I think like many Nigerians, I'll probably say most Nigerians, I'm tired of hearing Nigeria will, Nigeria too, Nigeria. We have so many agreements, so many things that we've signed, and somewhere along the line, things run into trouble, and that is where the issue is here. Really, it looks like a good agreement until you start looking at the detail. And there's one thing that caught my attention in our people's statements, that it will go through because it's a government to government affair. And then they were comparing it with Egypt. And I'm like, hold up. No, it's not a government to government affair. It's a government to company affair, or a government to business affair.
Yes.
The German government only facilitated, because the truth is that, like most energy investors, Siemens won't have touched us with a 20-foot pole
Basketball.
if not that their government intervened directly. Now, and why is it that many energy investors will not touch us? We have form in doing things badly. We sign an agreement and we don't live to our own side of the bargain. So the first place where we've gotten it wrong is that mentality where we think it's a government affair. The government of Germany is not the one running this gig. AG Siemens is. AG Siemens is the largest manufacturer in Europe. Last year, it had a revenue of 83 billion euro. To put that in context, that's 33.5 trillion naira, which is like 3 times our budget, if not 4. So it's important to put, as in, for the sake of humility,
Yes.
which is something that we are patently lacking. So it's important to put that out there so that we will understand that they are in a much stronger position. And if we start at any of our bad behavior, such as I can already see the first banana skin, MITO, multi-year tariff order.
That's where the first problem comes.
That's where the first banana skin will be.
Yes.
It's politically explosive in Nigeria to raise the cost of energy.
So would you say
Siemens are going like they did in Egypt? Siemens are going because Siemens were the ones who ran the Egyptian thing. But you know what? The Egyptian government stepped out of their way. Something that the Nigerian government so far has proven incapable of doing.
so by this relation with the German governance, do you see this happening?
Angela Merkel is out soon anyway, so whether her replacement will be as favorably disposed is another matter entirely. Like I said, they've done their bits.
Yeah.
They facilitated. They got us in the door with Siemens. If they hadn't choked mouth in the matter, Siemens won't have talked to us. So the key thing is good deal on paper, but are we going to allow the electricity cost to become cost reflexive? One, and number two, very important, are we going to stay out of the way of a business?
Yes.
We don't want to have another P&ID in our hands.
A quick question though, just to clarify. Are you saying, or do you think that the German government's involvement is just to hold the Nigerian government accountable to this deal?
How will they hold us? We are not
happened to-
diplomacy.
Sorry, Cheta, I'm sure you probably have an answer to this, but I'm wondering what happened to the Siemens deal that Jonathan administration reached in 2012?
Do you think I started by saying that Siemens won't have touched us with a long pole if the German government hadn't gotten involved? It
So
was
that deal
2011.
fell through.
That deal kind of like, I think the
So-
better expression is fizzled out.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on to the next one. The elephant in the room. We experienced something similar to 2015, but in this case, it was just yesterday's event was an offshoot of that for the call for the release of El Zakzaki. So the deputy commissioner of police, a journalist, 6 others were reportedly killed yesterday as the smoldering rage over the continued detention of the leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria reached a crescendo. And that happened not just in Nigeria, but in other parts of the world. Cheta, please take us through this story.
Well, we begin such a story by saying God rest the dead. Everybody who, all those who were killed have families, and it's a tragedy that their lives were all cut short in such brutal fashion. Having said that, the Nigerian security architecture has clearly not learned anything. Clearly. 10 years ago this week, 2 men were killed, Mohammed Yusuf and Buji Foy. They were shot in broad daylight by the Nigerian police, unprovoked. They were shot in the back. We saw videos of that. The movements which they led metastasized after that and became the insurgency that we're still dealing with today, that we've been unable to get a lead on. 4 years ago, which was 2 years after some of his sons were killed in a previous incident, another number of his sons, making a total of 6 of his sons now, were killed in the massacre in Kielsu. Zakzaki was arrested, and we've had, I think, up to 6 court orders asking for his release. None of them has been obeyed. For all the bad press that it gets, his movement has actually shown that they are committed to some sort of peaceful, because what they've been doing is marches. And every time they march, they are met with force. They are met with violence by the security services. Now, before, you could draw a line, for those of us that study these things, you could draw a line, okay, Zakzaki, Rafsanjani, you could tell who you need to talk to if you need to talk. Now you can no longer do that. What that tells someone like me is that the movement is splintering, and that some of them are now clearly saying we need to fight back. And I think because Premium Times had an exclusive which broke about 11 p.m. yesterday night, that the president is planning to proscribe them. You want to drive them further underground? Go to Maryland in Lagos now. At the top banister there's graffiti that has spread all over the place. Free Zakzaki. One of the scariest things I saw myself with my Tuanyaya, Nobi is not them, was between Kano and Wudil, an uncompleted bridge. Free Zakzaki's graffiti sprayed on it in bold. This is core Sunni territory. What these guys are doing, last week was not last week, 2 weeks ago, when there was the protest where 2 people were killed in the National Assembly, they held simultaneous protests in Lagos, Kaduna, and Abuja. What these people are doing, they may not even know that that's what they are doing. They are showing that they have reach. Boko Haram, for all its bloodiness and badness, is restricted largely to one corner of the country, which in reality is a corner that really doesn't affect the rest of us. That's the blunt truth. This one, if we complete their radicalization,
in the population, and that's a scary fact, Cheta. But very quick question: do you suspect that the restriction of protests in the Federal Capital Territory?
It's because of them. It's clearly because of them.
That answers the
Well,
question.
this was violated yesterday because they restricted.
But
to
you see,
Unity
this is where the
Fountain.
problem is. And they know this. A guy called Schreib, one of their legal people, was saying yesterday that, see, it is unconstitutional. There's a subsisting Supreme Court judgment that makes that police order invalid. So so we have to ask our questions about the kind of country we want to run. Go on.
To jump in.
Yeah,
The
why?
right to dissent.
Yes, yeah.
Go on,
The
Justin.
right to dissent. Informed dissent. In fact, even if it's not informed, the right to dissent is central to the tenets of democracy. We cannot say we're a democracy and then we want to police the right of people to agree or disagree with the government on any given issue. At the end of the day, sovereignty lies with the people. The government is a tool for the people to achieve its means and ends. If I say to my employee, I do not like how you're doing what I asked you to do, you don't turn around and look at me and say you have no right to talk.
It behoves on him to make the working environment favorable.
All right, let's take a few comments,
yes,
one or
please.
two. So the killing of the police DCP by the Shiites is tantamount to insurgents against the state. The message that this will communicate is that you can take up arms against the state whenever you feel your interests or demands are not acceded to. If this is not tackled decisively, then anarchy is being unleashed on the nation Nigeria. Things could begin to fall apart and the center may no longer hold.
I need to answer that, please.
Yes, please.
This is from Engineer Onyegide.
Yeah, you need to come to Nigeria. We've been there for a long time. The Nigerian state has actually shown conclusively that the people that it talks with take up arms against the states. It is people who go this route of peaceful protest are saying gather and talk that the Nigerian state deals with decisively. Those who pick up arms, they call them to a table and they share money. Go on Twitter. There was this video of this Zambi guy that was talking in Zamfara State the other day, and there were policemen clapping out for him in the background. They were there.
Quick question though, why is the federal government adamant, with keeping Zakari?
That's a very long story, but summary is that we are inadvertently being dragged into a geopolitical conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran. That's the summary.
The next story is from the Punch newspaper. Thank you, Cheta. I'll come to you, Justin, for the analysis on this. Federal government's minimum wage template will impoverish workers. The head of the civil service of the Federation is saying it's unrealistic. That's Mrs. Winifred Oyoita. She's saying that it's unrealistic demand from senior civil servants. That is the reason why implementation of the new minimum wage is being experienced, or it was being delayed rather. Your thoughts on this?
You read the story and you just come up with, how can the government be this dishonest, right? We were here before the elections, and I think we had a show here where we talked about, is this bargaining to pre-election bargaining to, or is there sincerity in this whole minimum wage raise exercise? Okay, so we were told that minimum wage has been raised to 30%, but then you read the story and realize 30,000. Sorry. So here's what the issue is. Winifred Oyoita, the head of service, is negotiating with the joint national public negotiation council.
That's representing the workers, by the way.
Which represents the workers. And the government came with a template that said, okay, we will implement a 9.5% increase for officers from grade level 7 to 14, and 5% increase for officers from grade level 15 to 17. And the workers say, no, that's not going to take us to where we need to be based on the increment. So you need to raise salary by 30% for workers from grade level 7 to 14, and then 25% for grade level 14 to 15, or 15 to 17 rather. And the government is pushing back and saying, no, that's not realistic, it's not sustainable. So it's tactically stalled negotiations. In other words, no minimum wage increase has happened.
Why this new strategy?
But I not talk and say
so this takes us back to simply
election
tactics.
I said it then.
So what you should have been discussing then and agreeing on before you came out to say minimum wage.
Which is why I'm asking. I mean, why does this ring as a delay tactics? Why?
Bro, money no day.
We've seen because there was never any way they were going to.
Because if you notice, some month or two ago, the labor union leaders were saying that they are taking their time See that, Cheta? I'm bored. Some the Labour Union leaders say they're taking their time to reach an agreement, that they're in no hurry to rush to sign, because they don't want to make the mistake they made in the past years when that increase was experienced. At the end of the day, they realized that it all came down to just increase by 900 naira. So, but you know where my question is going to. Who's playing the mischief here, and what do you?
About who's playing the mischief.
Do you see
the
this?
Government negotiators are the ones being mischievous. They're introducing new figures, new templates to something that had already been agreed.
Where do you see
the
the
point of
compromise?
implementation? The truth is the country is broke. We cannot pay.
Let's be factual. The country is bankrupt. There's a difference.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's look at some messages before we go on to our next story. Henry Okon, still reacting to the El Zagzaki story, says, I just read about Zagzaki on Wiki, and I will say the government has not been fair. For someone whose children, 6 of 9, were killed by the Nigerian army, and with court orders ordering his release, there's really no moral or legal right to keep him. Now, it's important to put this side by side with Emeka's comment. Emeka is from Okokomaiko, who says the government knows why they're holding El Zagzaki. If they want to leave him, they should prescribe them.
All right. Our next story, this one for you, Justin Steele, from the Vanguard newspaper, Southwest governors to review security architecture. This, as by some report, this new move that's bringing together governors. First, the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum and governor of Ondo State, he said that the technical committee had submitted its recommendations to governors to start implementation by next month. Please give us an idea of the content of this report and the recommendation that they are making. I think it's closely related to ranching and the call for Ruga and issues around that. Your thoughts, please.
My thoughts, not what the report says.
Okay.
So this is one very hot button topic with the death of
It's right.
with the death of the lady last week.
Yeah.
It continues to escalate, i.e., the lack of security in the region continues to become more critical. I like the fact that the governors are organized and they're trying to make something happen. But the truth is, the tone from the top needs to change. All the organization by the South, at the end of the day, the constitution has vested the power to police in the federal government. If the executive from the top does not bring proper will to bear on this issue, we are quick descending into anarchy.
Which is what Femi Falana mentioned yesterday.
Yes, exactly. Because so in this story you hear someone say, and I saw those pictures online, there's an ID card of some people purporting to be vigilantes, the Etiala vigilantes, and the state spokesrep says, no, we are not aware of any vigilantes who are using identity cards. However, we have a collaboration of them. They work with police.
The key thing is that the person who raised the alarm is Kayode Ajulo, who is a known Buhari supporter. So for somebody like that to be breaking ranks, you know that's water down the pass, Gary.
And for the information of people, Kayode Ajulo says he drove on one of the major roads in Ondo State, and he met up with a gang of these supposed vigilantes, Fulani, of Fulani extraction. It was very clear that it's a Fulani extraction. It was
extremely clear.
And that they were armed. And then they stopped him, apparently a roadblock, and he asked them, what are you guys doing? He said, oh, they are vigilantes. He said, who authorized you? They said, we're working with the police. He said, well, I don't see any police. They said, yeah, the police are coming. And he confirmed that the police eventually joined them.
Guess what? The police spokesman, Femi Joseph,
multiple belts.
He was asked to confirm this, and he said no such group exists in the state. But then again, it's interesting to see that these guys have identity cards to show you how. Thank you.
These things are not random, so we need to be careful.
Thank you very much, Justin. We'll take a few comments.
All right, we have this one from Tyre. Tyre from Yoba says, and just like that, that's how Abuja became a hotbed for coppers along with the other states. It's well with Nigeria and many agreements. I hope the German deal does not become an abandoned project like the Ijeh Steel project. Olu's deal says the right to protest is central to the tenets of democracy. Timothy said the country is bankrupt but can still pay politicians and have reserve in its treasury. Please kindly explain.
All right, thank you so much. I think with regards to the copper, what we mentioned is that a copper,
copper that
yes,
was,
attached to Channels TV
That's right.
was killed by stray bullet. Precious Olabi, and God rest his soul. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Court bars National Assembly from interfering in Bauchi Assembly crisis. So, Cheta, Premium Times has this report. Please tell me what's going on in Bauchi. Apparently, two speakers emerged at the inauguration of the 9th Bauchi Assembly through parallel elections.
It's one of those stories of political hiki-haga. I mean, this thing is the when you have bad behavior at the top, it percolates down. So, as an example, President Buhari has thus far refused to constitute a cabinet. So 24 of the governors that were inaugurated on May 29th have also not constituted their cabinets. I mean, so when the president is trying to dictate who should be the head of the National Assembly, an ostensibly independent arm of government, should this surprise you that governors try to do the same? So what's happening in Bauchi is that Governor Bala Mohammed is trying to enforce Abubakar Suleiman as the Speaker of the House of Assembly. Kawuwa Damina wants to be Speaker. So they held the Bauchi State House of Assembly has 31 members. 11 members are in support of Suleiman, that's in support of the governor's nominee, while 20 members voted for Damina. When they wanted to do the votes, of course, when it was time to do the official votes, suddenly the place was locked. They couldn't vote. But the faction that is not loyal to the governor, I don't know why we always use that word loyal. The faction that wants independence from the governor,
yes.
They happen to have the mace. So they held the election under a tree somewhere, and they've elected.
So who's going to emerge the speaker now? I mean,
the last time I checked, I know I failed math, but the last time I checked, 20 is more than
11.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but here's the problem: APC at the national level, the governor is trying to use APC at the national level to enforce his will. Level, many people are not quite in support of the governor, but because Oshomole is also trying some higi haga in those states, he's letting this one slide, as it were. So it's national APC that is trying to push this notion of House of Reps or National Assembly taking over the Bauchi State Assembly, which is why the Damina faction has gone to courts, and the court has said. So it's just.
So the court, just to read, the interim injunction dated July 22nd, that's yesterday, granted by Judge Muazu Abubakar, said the parties involved in the crisis should halt all proceedings until October 3rd.
Yeah, so essentially, we have up September. Until then, the Bauchi State has no assembly, as it were, because without a speaker, they can't even proceed.
All right, thank you very much.
You've not heard from him since the inauguration. Your ear has been blocked.
He's been very busy.
He didn't say he hasn't heard about him. He has not heard from him. I didn't know you guys were saying what All
right, let's move. Maybe if you've heard from him, you might want to send us a message to let us know what you have heard. Now, Justin, I'll come to you for this. Airport intruder. Union leader calls for aviation security overhaul. Daily Times report. So apparently, apart from national security, we even have aviation security concerns. General of Association of Nigerian Aviation Professionals, ANAP, Comrade Abdul Razak Zaidu, has called on the government to commence total overhaul of aviation security across airports in the country. Just as a recap, we know what happened last week. It was on social media, it was in the news. A man was found on the tarmac in Lagos, at the Lagos State Airport. Takeoff, I think, was to Port Harcourt, and they were even afraid to approach him.
On the plane.
And they said they saw him with a bag, an unidentified bag. So how did he get there? There's so many questions. So please, Justin, take us through this story.
Let's just say that we should all be grateful that his intentions were probably just to get out of the country.
Wasn't an international flight, it was a local flight.
Somebody like that
would not know the difference now. You saw a plane, I thought,
you see plane. This is where this thing scares me.
Out of here.
Yeah. This is where this thing scares me. It's to travel on the roads. Even the plane that some of us could now manage to gather small money, and this kind of thing happening. What annoys me in the matter, or what depresses me, is that we're not solving any new problems in this country. All of our problems are recycled. So Day in the office, we were talking about something that, and I was just talking to the other boys about something that happened in the year 2000, and I turned to confidence and was like, confidence. So this was how it happened. I wouldn't know. I was 4 in 2000, and it struck me. This guy was born in 96. In 1995, the U.S. blacklisted planes from Nigeria from flying to the U.S. because of a runway encroachment.
It's like yesterday. I remember.
All right, Justin. Just to round off on that analysis of this story, you done? Shall we move on?
No.
Okay.
So I was going to say, I'm interested in seeing when eventually we do get a cabinet. I'm interested in seeing who is going to run the aviation industry, because the gentleman there has been dogged by controversy from day one. This same story, the blame has been laid on his doorstep. Apparently, he's politicized the recruitment, alleged by the ANAP guy. He has politicized the recruitment of fire and aviation security personnel at the airports across the country. So it's no longer a transparent process. They've sacrificed competence and experience in the sector to a whole lot of other.
Is this alleged or confirmed?
Alleged.
Okay,
by the ANAP, Association of National Aviation. So we hope to see a change in aviation ministry.
Hopefully. Okay. Ministerial list. But let's go on to our next story, Cheta. Guardian has this report: how we spent $876.88 million on military equipment by presidency. So barely 24 hours after the PDP charged the president to explain to Nigeria how the $1 billion allegedly disappeared from the excess crude account drawn by the APC-led government. Can you please take us through the story and the explanation for how much was spent, justifying it?
Frankly, I don't care about the explanation, to be honest. No, I'll be brutally frank here.
Okay.
I do know that some of that money is the 600 million that 5 soldiers decided to tackle the other day.
Allegedly.
No, they didn't. It wasn't alleged. 4 soldiers.
No, the story is correct. I mean, the money you're saying, that where the money, the $600 million.
The general that was in question has been placed under house arrest.
All right. So, but that is not confirmed, just to say that. No, I mean anyway, that the $600 million is for the excess crude.
Two of the soldiers have been found. So when I got that piece, I wanted to slap the 2 of them. It's not. Anyway, that's besides the point. The real issue here is the fact that this money was withdrawn without the approval of the National Assembly, as it ought to be. That's the real issue. All this giving account. We are not even seeing the results. Military bases attacked. This is the hardest in terms of. So ISWAP has got a situation where they are deliberately and targeting military bases. So where are the equipment that you bought with this money? It's one thing to come and say
with cash.
The Russians do cash now. As in the Russians no sense.
Within our borders.
There's a money laundering
act.
Okay,
that's one. No, that one is a different matter. That one is
a money laundering act that still exists. That's another factor to consider.
Talking about.
I'm talking about reality.
All right, Cheta, please go on. So
Russian, Eastern Europeans generally are cash and carry, and they don't do sanctions. So they're very good markets. They're very good markets for arms. The point is, these arms come. If you look at recently released ISWAP videos, again, that's one of the things that we watch in the office. Some of their songs playing in my head now. If you look, yes, I do. If you look at recently released ISWAP videos, you will see that a lot of the equipment, they are actually using the army as a store. So we get the equipment, these guys attack a base, and they make away with some of the equipment. That's a big problem.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Final story here, very quickly, Justin. APC loses bid to reclaim Zamfara elected positions. If we recall, during the last elections, a court ruling had stated that
during the last elections in Zamfara State, the APC didn't conduct primaries. They had consensus candidates who went ahead to win in the general elections, and then the PDP goes to court and gets their victory overturned by simply saying, listen, you are not validly elected candidates following the electoral law. So there was a court judgment that said, APC, you've lost all your positions in Zamfara State, and they went to the runner-up, which was the PDP candidate. The APC then appealed it, and what we have here in the story is the court just reaffirmed the initial judgment, saying, sorry, you didn't have candidates for the last election. So
All right.
PDP wins today.
All right,
Thank you. Souls on Twitter says Labour played to the gallery. It was during the campaign for elections that they should have held the government to ransom, but now they are at the government's mercy. So.
All right, thank you so much for your comments, everyone who sent in messages on Twitter, YouTube, and of course WhatsApp. And a big thanks to our analysts, Cheta at Checksta on Twitter, and Justin at Justin Ijeh on Twitter. Lagos will go on a break. When we come back, it'll be time for Grapevine 981, where we look at entertainment stories from around the world. Good morning. Thank you.